Hey everybody in the launch team. I'm super excited to come on and talk to you about Wild Child. We have just finished the Shy Girl launch, which is crazy because we also just finished the Fighter launch. Now we are heading into the Wild Child launch. I'm super excited about this book, and I thought it'd be more fun and kind of shake it up a little bit if I came on and talked to you about Ellie and Devin beforehand. And I kind of wanted to try giving you guys some, I guess, behind the scenes information on the book to see if it could kind of get you more excited about it or maybe give you kind of some more stuff to share about the book. And Ellie and Devin is the perfect one to do it on because they actually are the beginning of the coffee shop series. So Ellie and Devin were born in my brain about, I was like 21. So I don't want to say I was 13 years ago. I turned 34 this year. So when I was 21, I was working as a pediatric charge nurse, and I would work night shifts, and sometimes I would write while I was working night shifts if it was a really slow day, or I would just like scroll down ideas on like printer paper and stuff. And I was always writing about Ellie and Devin, and they were best friends. They lived in Montana. Ellie didn't have sisters. She did have an abusive father named Jim, and Devin was her best friend. And they had always had this really awesome best friend connection. I had never read like romance, like contemporary romance books. I had always like read like historical, like Scottish lairds and that kind of stuff. So I didn't know like best friends to lovers was even a plot line. But I just loved this idea of best friends being so connected that they ended up just naturally kind of segueing into real love. And Devin ends up going away in the military, and Ellie supports him, and then they come back together, and Devin actually had a girlfriend, and Ellie realizes how much she loves him. And it was kind of a terrible story that went on forever, and I would never let you read because I wasn't a very good writer at that time. But I wrote so consistently, and I loved them so much. I actually wrote 2 books for them, and it was the first manuscript I ever let anybody read, which was a big freaking deal because I had never let anyone read my stuff, and it was Ellie that I let people read. So Ellie's always had a special place in my heart, and she was also, she's a mountain wild child, so she's a lot like me and who I was at the time. So I years ago just kept thinking about Ellie, and I was just kind of wondering, would I ever resurrect Ellie? And I had written her on my Google Drive for my old email address. So I went back into that Google Drive and found all of these words. And I was rereading it, and it was a really interesting experience because as I reread it, I realized, oh my gosh, like this was writing when writing was like my deepest and greatest passion. Like it wasn't my career. It was just what I love to do. And it was just that part of me. And there's like a really strong essence in that writing, although it's not very good reading, that was just different. And so as I read it, I got kind of back into Ellie Spark, and I was really excited, and I really wanted to redo her. But I knew she kind of needed a reboot because as it was written, it wasn't a very engaging plot line. It was an engaging idea, but not an engaging story. So that's kind of how the coffee shop series began, is I was like, how do I bring Ellie and Devin back? And then Ellie kind of turned into Bethany and Lizbeth. And I originally was planning Ellie's book, and then I was like, no, I need to do Lizbeth first because Lizbeth is going to be her older sister, because I knew I wanted to do a book for Lizbeth. So I made them sisters. And then Bethany was originally going to be Lizbeth's aunt, who lived and ran the Frolicking Moosh, became her older sister. So that's kind of a fun sneak peek into how stories actually develop. A lot of readers ask me, well, how do you come up with your ideas? And I always tell them, well, stories are like onions, like they come in layers. I start with a tiny idea, and it just kind of builds into these layers. And most of the time they're really stinky and make you cry. So that's actually how Wild Child began. And the funny thing about Wild Child is, even though it was like the beginning of this new series, it ended up being book 6. So my original plan was to have Wild Child be the first book, and then Lizbeth went in. And then I realized Bethany needed to come first. So then Wild Child was the 3rd book. But then as I wrote Lovesick, I knew I needed to do Mark. So I was like, okay, we're going to slide Mark in, and that helps the Ellie timeline better anyway. Because as I looked at it, I finished Lovesick, and I realized I need like 3 years to pass for Wild Child. And I didn't really want that big of a time gap. So I put Mark in. But then in writing Mark, I ran into Benjamin, and I was like, oh, Benjamin, he was in the very, very end of Coffee Shop Girl. And I was like, oh, I really want to do a book about Benjamin, and this would be a great time. So I'm just gonna, that's when I decided to kind of put Ellie as a running thread through all of it. And people have been most excited about Ellie. I see the most pre-orders coming in for her most consistently. People are asking and most excited about Ellie. So it's just funny. She's like, she ended up being this running thread. So coming to her book is a BFD because we're finally there, right? Like we're finally seeing Ellie like come to pass. And then Dagny sort of inserted herself in unexpectedly. And so we're finally landing on Ellie. So I kind of wanted you guys to have that backstory as you go into reading Wild Child, so you can just appreciate the flavor of Wild Child a little bit more and understand where Ellie came from, because I have so much history with her. So for me, it was this big culminating point I was really excited about. So I wanted to share that, guys, with you, or share that with you ladies. So let me know if you have any questions. Everything should be coming soon. This is going to be a lot like Shy Girl. You're going to be getting emails. We're going to go on to Facebook. We are taking the feedback we got from you and trying to make sure we're just building a really awesome experience that gets all of you excited. You guys are really my greatest asset in almost my entire company, because you help me get the books out there, and the traction and visibility that you give my books through your reviews, through sharing with people, through your Facebook posts is really amazing. A lot of you are just my diehards. Like I hear from you all the time. You've been with me for years. You either know me personally or just through my books. Like there's a tons of ways that you guys have come to me, and I want this to be the coolest experience ever. So that's why we're doing the feedback form. You can fill it out at any time. We're going to review it periodically to make sure we're kind of keeping up. And at the end of every launch, we'll put it back out because we want to know, like, how are we doing? How can this be better? So that all of you are excited to be here. And sometimes we just grow out of stuff. So if you're kind of like, I don't really want to be on launch team anymore, I get it. Feel free to just let us know, and we'll take you off the email list and out of the group, because sometimes you just don't have the bandwidth. If anyone understands me, right? So just know that we really, on my team, and I just look at you guys as one of my greatest assets and resources, and I want to serve you and like keep all of you happy and reading so that you can go into the world and help other people find these books. At the end of the day, we just want to provide escapism and connection for these women that need it. At the end of my day, I just want an awesome romance novel to dive into, to just de-stress me and help me go to sleep and feel excited and hopeful and happy about the world again. It restores, like romance can restore us. And I think, like Lisbeth, there is a lot of power in romance. So I just wanted to reiterate that and thank you for all you do. Let us know if you have any questions, and we're gonna like launch into the Wild Child stuff. We'll have a list of dates and everything for you. The emails will be going out. You'll know when to pre-order on Amazon and everything. So we will text in. Thank you.